It's hard to imagine, really, that this area of North Carolina, right on the far northeastern part of North Carolina, has been getting this for about 24 hours. When we talked yesterday, the winds had really picked up. This is about the strongest that I've felt them so far, maybe 10 miles an hour off their strongest, but it's just almost unprecedented for a storm to stick around for this long, and that's just how slow Florence has been moving. We are inside Morehead City, which is just off Atlantic Beach. You cannot see Atlantic Beach behind me because of this, but in one of the lulls as these squall lines pass through, we were able to venture out and get a sense of the damage that people are going to be looking at when they come back. Take a look. This is the main road of Atlantic Beach. At parts, it is not quite a river yet, but certainly a small stream. The rain obviously continuing, which means these waters will only rise, especially as the tide starts to come back in. This is just one of the businesses that is completely destroyed here. You can see top rows of windows blown out. The roof, according to the fire department, is blown out. And there was the front door. Now anyone can just walk through. Now becomes even the bigger question for so many of these businesses. After wind and water will have destroyed so much, will the looters come? Something the police are incredibly worried about here, even as this storm continues. And it's almost impossible for the police, they tell me, to move around in some of these really bad squall lines here. The other issue, of course, is the rising waters, Neil. They continue to rise, and the barrier islands that would normally protect this part of North Carolina from this storm are acting as a funnel for these rising waters, and that is what's pushing all of this water up into places like Wilmington and New Bern and Washington, where we are seeing and hearing about all of those rescues by people who did indeed decide to stay and tough this one out. It could be another few hours until police and fire, at least in this part of North Carolina, are able to venture out safely, and they too will have to contend with the rising waters. The fire chief saying a lot of his vehicles just can't make it through the waters that are rising, not only here in Morehead City, but especially over on Atlantic Beach, Neil.
Leland, I know it's very, very hard to hear, but we were talking to a Coast Guard official who was saying, you know, if some of these people who need rescues in other areas, not the one you're in right now, they might have to wait a while. These are still dangerous conditions. How are people sitting with that?
Oh, the conditions are pretty bad, frankly. What's interesting about this storm is the squall lines keep coming. You think that it's over based on experience in terms of how long that this storm has been going on. Normally at about 18 hours, you think, gee, it might be time for a nice long break, and that just has not happened here. The fire chief over in Atlantic Beach, telling me that a couple of times his group has tried to venture out, and they've sort of been beaten back to their station house. Their station house itself took a big beating. What we've been hearing is that many of these rescues are happening because there have been swiftwater rescue teams that have come down from as far away as New York to pre-stage to sort of be above this storm and then come down from the north into these areas that are most affected. But in terms of being able to get crews out on the road and moving from here, very difficult. And you're feeling, or at least I'm feeling, you're seeing the wind that's coming here. One of the things that makes North Carolina so beautiful is all those huge oak trees. As we drove around, zillions of them have been uprooted. Countless oak trees uprooted in a couple of miles that are across roads, across streets. It doesn't matter what kind of vehicles you have, you're not getting over those. All of those have to be cleared as fire trucks and EMS try to get to anybody who needs to be rescued, Neil.